This week we are studying Parashat Ekev, a very nice parasha. It's a longer parasha. Happens to me, my younger brother Jonathan's parasha. I remember a couple years ago, it's a while ago now, we went to Israel. We did the bar mitzvah there. It was beautiful. So mazal tov to my brother Jonathan on the anniversary of his bar mitzvah. And we would like to mention tonight's sponsors, and thank you for everyone for joining us. Thank you to our sponsors. And here we go. David and Ingrid Edery. David's on with us for a complete refuah shlema for his nephew Shmuel Chaim Ben Dona, which David just told us Baruch Hashem miraculously did get out of the hospital. So mazal tov, and Bezrat Hashem, we only have good news, and we have only very, very good recovery, because he did have COVID, 26 years old in Spain. So Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered our prayers in the merit of the Zera Shimshon and Rav Haman, that he survived, and he's doing well, and he's on his path to recovery. So thank you for that. Next is Malka Cohen, who's on with us, who is sponsoring tonight's class in honor of her children, Shimon Zev Ben Avram, as well as Kfira Malka Bas Avram. May they be blessed and only good things. Amen. Next is Ephraim and Sarah Elimelech, who are sponsoring tonight's class in honor of their children and their grandchildren, to all follow in Derech Torah Mitzvot. Kol HaKavod, thank you very much. Last but not least, Ron is dedicating tonight's class. Hi, Ron, I see you. Ron is dedicating tonight's class. I could see from the corner of my eye all the chat. So look at your smile. Ron is dedicating tonight's class for two occasions. It's a double dedication, Ron. Number one is to Eileen, who was born on this parasha. This is Eileen's birthday parasha, Ekev, beautiful, as well as her granddaughter, Jordana, this week is her birthday parasha. So mazel tov to the entire Friedman family, and kol hakavod to Ron for his very quick chatting abilities. All right, nice to see everyone. I'd like to welcome back Isaac Capuano. Finally, we've been waiting to see your beautiful face. Nice to see you. Nice to have you with us. And I want to welcome one of my favorite little girls in the entire world. She has the same first name as my wife. Everyone say hi to Sarah Simcha. Sarah Simcha, say hi. She's so cute. Sarah Simcha Sitban, God should bless you to give your parents a lot of nachat and a lot of great, great, great things. Healthy, happy, and successful. Amen v'amen. Super cute. All right. We are ready to start. Okay, this week's Parashat Ekev. The first part we're going to speak about from the Zera Shimshon is, what is this terminology of exactly Ekev? A lot of the commentaries go on to ask, well, Ekev, literally meaning, according to Hebrew, the Hebrew translation means a heel. So there are simple interpretations, a little bit deeper interpretations. Just so you understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to share with you the pasuk. Pasuk is here. It's in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 12. And this is the very first verse in our Torah portion. It says, V'haya ekev tishmeun, and it will be because you will heed these ordinances, et hamishpatim ha'elev ushmartem v'asitem otam, and you will observe them, you'll perform them, and then v'shamar Hashem Elokecha lecha et habrit v'et hachesed asher nishbah la'avotecha, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will keep the covenant and the kindness that he swore to your forefathers. Again, God made a promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that he will bless, that he will look out for, he will always guide the Jewish people in the good and the right way, in a successful path. But that's as long as, this is what the Torah is telling us, as long as they are following and heeding to the ordinances that are laid out in our Torah. This word, if you see, I have it highlighted over here. Let's put it in bold. This word over here is a very peculiar word. It kind of seems a little bit out of place. That's what the Zera Shimshon is going to discuss in a moment. But literally meaning v'haya, and it was, Ekev means the heel, tishmeun. So Rashi's simple interpretation, we must have spoken about this before. Rashi's simple interpretation is that the way Hashem wants us to observe our Torah and our mitzvot is not only the big and grand mitzvot, the ones that are very famous, and like let's say the Pesach Seder. Every Jew makes a Seder for Pesach. Every Jew finds himself on Yom Kippur repenting, doing teshuvah. But there are maybe some less popular mitzvot that unfortunately people step on with their heel. They trample on them, Rashi says. Those are the mitzvot that we are also obligated to observe. And that is what will trigger HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessing us as he promised to our forefathers. So that's the simple interpretation. The Zera Shimshon has an issue with this because there are two places in the Talmud, I'm going to quote them to you very briefly, that tell us that in this world there is no reward for our good deeds. The first is in Masechet Kiddushin. It says, Schar behai alma leka, that there is no reward in this world. You do something good in this world, it's not for this world. Rather, it's as it's spelled out in the second time in the Talmud, this is in Masechet Eruvin. The Talmud says that we are here to fulfill the mitzvot in this world and to gather or to receive the reward in the next world. So the Zera Shimshon says it's clear from our Talmud that merit and reward is not to be collected or to be enjoyed in this world, rather it is in the next. The problem with that is the next verse in our Torah. The next verse in our Torah says, it would seem to say otherwise. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 13. It says, and he will love you and bless you, and multiply you, and he's going to bless the children, the fruit of your womb, basically your children. And he'll also bless the fruit of your soil. That means your fruits and vegetables and your grain, as it says here, your grain, your wine, your oil, your offspring, your cattle, the choice of your flock, in the land that Hashem swore to give to you based on what he promised to your forefathers. The Zera Shimshon says this verse seems to clearly go against what we learned in the Talmud. The Talmud tells us there's no reward in this world. We just read, if you follow Hashem's ordinances, Hashem will bless you, your children, your land, and all of everything that you have in the land that Hashem promised to your forefathers. So which one is it, says there, Shimshon? No reward in this world, or yes, reward in this world? Comes to Zera Shimshon and gives two different answers. Answer number one is, in my opinion, a beautiful, beautiful concept, and it really, it's a meaningful concept as well. He says that if a person fulfills their obligation, just to fulfill it, you have an obligation to put on your tefillin every day as a man. Okay, you have your obligation as a woman to light Shabbat candles. Let's just take those two. They're like the hallmark staples of our of our gender choice mitzvot. Let's put it that way, right? The men put on tefillin and the women light the Shabbat candles, as an example. So you can put on tefillin literally in 1 minute, maybe even 5 minutes if you take your time. Or you can spend much longer with your tefillin. You could put on your tefillin and read Tehillim with it, whether it's before or after your prayers. You could even study Torah with your tefillin on. That's doing above and beyond. So there's basically, your basic obligation is to put on your tefillin, say at least your Shema Yisrael, hopefully your whole prayer, but that's your basic obligation. You're lighting your Shabbat candles. There's a set time to light Shabbat candles, but you can go above and beyond and light them early, possibly. You can light more than just the 2 candles which we're obligated to for Shabbat. You can light for every family member. You may be able to even light for other rabbis and merit of other rabbis that passed away. Many other ways that you can make your candle lighting before Shabbat meaningful. Reading Tehillim, saying special prayers for your family, for Eretz Yisrael, for your community. There are ways to go above and beyond your basic obligation. Says the Zera Shimshon, when you do a mitzvah and you just fulfill your basic obligation, which is noble and amazing and holy in its own right, However, in that situation, there's no merit in this world. The reward is in the world to come. There's definitely merit. Every deed that a person does, positive and negative, is accounted for in God's divine calculation. That's not changing. What is now being clarified according to the Zera Shimshon is anything that you do in this world and you fulfill the obligation, and that even though it may not be easy, that merit is collected in the world to come. But if a person goes above and beyond, and as we translated, a person is a chassid. Chassid is above the letter of the law. Tzaddik is, according to the letter of the law, you're righteous. Chassid is pious. It's above the letter of the law. Someone who fulfills the mitzvot above the letter of the law, not only, says Zera Shimshon, gets merit in the world to come, but based on our pasuk in this week's Torah portion, also gets merit in this world. So that is the Zera Shimshon's chidush, and he continues to prove this from the word Ekev. The word Ekev, the Zera Shimshon is translating it not as heal, which is maybe a basic interpretation, but Ekev, the Zera Shimshon is translating it as because, meaning V'haya, and it will be because you will listen, because the Ekev Tishmeun, because you will listen. But Ekev is more than just because. Ekev, explains the Zera Shimshon, is the same letters as Keva. Ekev is spelled Ayin, Kuf, Bet, and Keva is Kuf, Bet, Ayin. Basically, the Ayin is either in the beginning of the word or at the end of the word, but nevertheless, it spells the same. It's the same three letters. Ekev means because, but Keva means on a regular basis. It means not temporary, something permanent. When a person makes their mitzvot observant and their Torah learning, Keva, permanent and continuous on a regular basis, even above the letter of the law, then these berachot, all the blessings that Hashem is giving us, are going to be in this world also the reward, not only in the world to come. It's a fascinating concept. Again, just as a review, he is learning this from the word Ekev. Ekev is an extra word. It's the second word in this week's Torah portion. It's frankly the name of this week's Torah portion, Ekev. Of course, it means heal, but it also means because. But more than just because you will listen to, but more than that, Ekev is also the same letters as Keva. Keva means permanent. Keva means continuous on a regular basis. When a person's observance of Torah and mitzvot is permanent, it's continuous, above the letter of the law, you go and you become a chassid. You go and you do things that are extra for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your mitzvah observance. Then the merit will also be given in this world, not only in the world to come. So, just as a short point, we have opportunities in our life, and we should seek those opportunities where we can go above and beyond and do more than just the basic requirement that Hashem has for us in store, because then we will also be able to hopefully merit from blessings and peace and good things in this world, in our lifetime, not only in the world to come. Now, the second answer to Zera Shimshon is based on another word in the pasuk. It's actually, here we go. It is the fifth word of the pasuk. The verse says, "Ve'aya ekev tishme'un," and it will be because you will heed et ha-mishpatim. Mishpatim means laws, rules, ordinances. But a mishpat is a very, very interesting type of mitzvah or law. A mishpat is, according to Chazal, according to our sages, is a law that most people would have came to the conclusion to do anyways. It has its basic moral rights to that law. For example, we all understand that it is ethical and moral to not steal, to not kill, to not commit adultery. There are certain laws which make sense to us. There are other laws that may not make sense. Why can't we eat meat and milk together? That's not a mishpat. That's a chok. It's a different type of mitzvah. Why can't we eat pork? That's something that's above our understanding. Yes, there may be interpretations. They're not healthy. It's not, but that's not the main reason. The main reason why we fulfill those type of mitzvot, which are called chukim, is just because God said so. They do not make sense. A mishpat does make sense. It makes sense to honor your parents. After all, they brought you into this world, of course, in conjunction with God, but it makes sense to honor your parents, to honor your elders. Those are mishpatim. But putting on tefillin every day, lighting your Shabbat candles, that's a chok, it's not a mishpat. All right. With that introduction, says the Zera Shimshon, very interesting to note that the Torah says, and it will be because you will heed the mishpatim, the laws, the ordinances that make sense, that a moral and ethical person would draw to the same conclusion. Says the Zera Shimshon, you know what Hashem is telling us? Do not fulfill those mitzvot just because they make sense to you. Rather, you fulfill those mitzvot first and foremost because Hashem said so. So when we come in front of some type of dilemma, not to do something wrong or to do something positive, if it makes sense to us, that should not be the primary reason why we are fulfilling that mitzvah. On the contrary, says the Zera Shimshon, we are to fulfill that mitzvah because Hashem told us to, Hashem commanded us to. The reason why we honor our parents is not just because they deserve it, not just because I would have came to that conclusion myself, not because even a Gentile would draw to that same conclusion. No, first and foremost, because God said so. Then it also makes sense because it's a very slippery slope. If you start fulfilling the mishpatim, the ordinances which make logical sense, if you start fulfilling them because they make sense to you, well, then when something does not make sense to you, you may not fulfill it anymore, or you may not even start fulfilling it. And therefore, it is important, it is imperative that a person understands that the reason why we fulfill the 613 mitzvot, whether they're the ones that make sense to us and the ones that do not make sense to us, is first and foremost because Hashem commanded us to fulfill them. And now, says the Zera Shimshon, this is what our Torah portion, this is our pasuk telling us. Our pasuk is telling us that when you fulfill the mitzvot that make sense to you, not because they make sense to you, but rather because Hashem commanded you to fulfill them, then you'll have the merit and the reward even in this world. Because you would have drawn the logical conclusion to do it anyways. I'm bending over backwards. I'm applying my mind to do so because the Creator told me to do it. Then the merit and the reward is given to us even in this world. But why? Why does it work that way? Well, the Zera Shimshon quotes the Talmud in Masechet Megillah that says that the way that a person acts is the way they'll be treated. It's like midah keneged midah, measure for measure. If you are kind to others, others will be kind to you. If you are kind to others, Hashem will shower down kindness on you. So based on this idea of midah keneged midah, measure for measure, the way that we act will be treated, Hashem looks down and says, you fulfilled all you do, all of the mitzvot that you do, you fulfilled because I commanded you to do so. Hashem says, I'm going to treat you the same way. I'm going to also fulfill what you would like. You would like to be blessed. You would like to be healthy, to live a long life, to have children, to be married and prosperous. You did so. You fulfilled the mitzvah just because I said so. I'm going to do what you say, Hashem answers back. And that's what the promise of the verse is. The promise is a promise of blessings, which are worldly promises. The pasuk says, you will be blessed, your children, the fruit of your land. Why is it all blessings revolving around I guess, children and parnasa and livelihood. Well, that is specifically the reason why the verse chose those to say that we will be blessed on. It's because the truth is, when a person does fulfill the laws that make sense to us just because Hashem said so, primarily because Hashem said so, well, then you will have your blessing in this world, as Shimshon is bringing as a proof. You will see the blessing in your children. You'll see the blessing in your livelihood. You'll see the blessing in your family, in your health, in your longevity. So the Zera Shimshon giving us two answers, just to review. The Zera Shimshon is giving us two answers to, is there really merit and reward in this world or not? Answer number one is yes, there is. Because if you go above the letter of the law in this world, you will have merit. You will have reward in this world besides for a next world. And the second answer is, as he said, the mishpatim, any laws that make sense to you anyways, but you don't fulfill it because they make sense to you. You're fulfilling them because Hashem said to do so. Hashem told you, commanded you to do so. That will now deserve an extra merit. Again, you're doing the same thing. You're not going to steal. You're not going to kill. You're not going to covet. You're not going to be envious. But why are you doing that? Are you doing it because you think it's wrong and it's ethically wrong? Or are you doing it because Hashem said to do it? That's the difference. It's all in the mind. It's all in the intention. So let's activate that intention. Let's why not? Let's welcome blessing and merit and reward in this world, besides for the next world as well also. Just by going above the letter of the law a little bit, being a chassid, adding, and also doing everything we do, even that which makes sense, even that which a Gentile would have concluded to do, just because Hashem said so, and not because it makes sense. Because that's a slippery slope, as we explained.